you've seen Bitcoin DATs, you've seen Ethereum DATs, you've seen a ton DAT, you've seen all these different tokens that are holding a certain digital asset in their treasury. And they still have their own business, whatever it might be, that they are running, but the main benefit of allocating to that equity is the allocation to the underlying asset that trades, as a multiple of NAV. So net asset value, right? So if it was a 1-to-1, you would look at an ETF. There's not a whole lot of leverage with that. And the ETF can't put the assets to work in a way that's not native on chain. So aside from staking, they really can't borrow against or margin the assets or do much else with them to be able to generate a return. Evernorth can. Evernorth can take the XRP that they have in their treasury, close to 800 million XRP, and then they can take that and go put it to work in DeFi protocols. That's a big, big deal. They can seed a lot of these liquidity pools that are going to be providing liquidity in different applications once these amendments are live. And I think they've timed this really well. I thought that they kind of stretched this out because they started this process really kind of middle of last year. First rumblings I heard of it were probably July, August last year, that Evernorth was going to, and then I didn't know the name of it then. I just knew that there was going to be a DAT that was going to go public through a SPAC. And it got pushed out. And so, the first opportunity that they would have to go public is going to be Q1 this year. And it just so happens to line up with a lot of these DeFi things that have been proposed on the XRPL. So, I would say, Ripple is obviously, they have 3 validators, part of the UNL. They definitely hold some weight. They propose a lot of amendments. Timing from them, I would say, is a bit more curated to their objectives. But the actual voting on these, they can't sway one way or the other. They actually have to be voted on by the UNL validators. And you do have to get, 25 other people to vote your direction. So it's not like this is a centralized thing. It is completely decentralized, but it can be curated as far as timing that benefits them. So all that being said, the reason you would allocate to a DAT is you're basically moving up the risk curve in your allocation to XRP. Okay, so you could have a direct allocation. You can have an allocation through an ETF. Both of those are pretty the kind of the low risk on the spectrum. The ETF is probably the lowest risk on the spectrum because it's in your stock portfolio. They hold it in institutional custody. It's backed 1-to-1 and audited, all the stuff. Holding it on your own is probably more risky than allocating through an ETF where somebody else manages the assets, unless you're holding it in institutional custody with digital